Sean Spiller is a teacher. He is a former mayor. He is president of the New Jersey Education Association and also a candidate for governor on the Democratic side in the upcoming June primary. And we're so happy to have him in studio for our conversation with the candidates. It's nice to see you. Thank you.
You as well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, you do so much. You have a lot of titles as it is. Can you tell me why you decided to throw your hat in the ring for governor in the state of New Jersey?
Yeah, I look at this race right now and I truly believe that this is our chance. This is our chance to do something different. This is our chance to have somebody who's going to center our needs in every single decision that I make. I say that from the perspective I think all of us have seen for so long. We get out there, we elect folks, and we hope they do the right thing. But when they're making these decisions, they're in rooms where they're influenced by people in positions of power. You know, often those who are very wealthy. We're seeing it at the national level right now in a big way, but it happens in Jersey as well. And I think folks are frustrated by that. We're tired of it. And understanding that this is the chance to say, hey, let's do something about it. Let's elect somebody who's got a lived experience more similar to our own and who's going to fight for us every day on the things that we need.
What are your top 3 issues that you're out there talking about on the campaign trail?
Yeah, it's about affordability. We've got to make New Jersey more affordable. I say that as somebody, I'm an immigrant to this country, came here as a young boy with my parents, and it was always that promise, right? You work hard, there's going to be opportunities, there's obstacles for sure, but if you work hard, you can do well. That's only gotten harder and harder and harder. I see it as an educator when I talk to the parents of the students that I teach. They talk about their frustrations. I see it in communities up and down the state as I travel, and folks just saying we can't afford this. We have to make these tough choices. I can't afford that, and it's really a challenge. It's really frustrating when we know that as a country, we've got a lot of resources, but it's also frustrating when you see billionaires, just trying to take even more away from us. So. For me right now, it's making sure we're focusing on the big drivers. It's housing costs, right? We've got to make sure we've got quality housing that's affordable in every single one of our communities. Proud of what we've done in Montclair, passing the first ever rent control law as mayor. Really proud there, but it's making sure more houses are available to folks to buy. I say that as somebody who took a couple of years to find my first home, multifamily home in Montclair. Those options aren't available anymore. You've got corporations, LLCs gobbling those up. I want to create a period where folks like you and me, regular folks, have the chance to buy those first or not get driven up on our mortgage costs. Make sure we get houses back on the market that have been foreclosed on, abandoned. Get that first-time home buying opportunity, an option to be there, but also get the rental units that we need that are affordable. We see often now communities are left on their own to say, you go build your requirement under the law, and they go to a developer. The developer says, I'll do it for you. I'll build 400 high-end luxury units, and I'll give you the 10 affordable. And communities are in uproar. That's not what we need. I'd go in as a partner, as governor, to say we're going to help you with these funds, but we're then going to build something much more in line with the community. We're going to build 50 units. We're going to build 20 that are affordable, 20 that are workforce housing. There's plenty of people that don't qualify for affordable, but couldn't live in the town and afford it. And 10 senior housing, right? Just so we've got what we need, much more of it, but also not the big developments that folks don't want to see. So we've got to address housing. We've got to address healthcare costs. They keep rising. I've done something about that, helped design healthcare plans that have saved billions of dollars.
And that's your role at the New Jersey Education Association.
Exactly.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in my role there, seeing the double digit, 20%, 15% healthcare cost increases year over year over year, we went to the state and said, hey, let us help work and design plans. We can figure it out to provide quality plans, but also get those savings that we're all looking for. And we did it, right? Took us a year to do. We figured it all out. We've done it. And put those plans into effect and are saving billions of dollars. And we need to do more. It's going and saying, hey, Horizon and the other insurance companies, you can't just say, here's your bill increase, but when we ask you why, you say, we can't tell you because it's agreements we have between us and the doctor, us and the hospital. Well, we're paying it. You got to tell us why so we can try to keep those costs down, right? So I've done it. We've got to address the healthcare costs as well for so many folks. We've got to address the cost of quality early education and childcare, right? So yes, we got to do the child tax credits for folks maybe putting something away for college, but also for folks with young families who are starting out. You can't have that $19,000 average cost for folks to be able to have their kids cared for.
It is outrageous, the cost of daycare, childcare before they get to pre-K.
And let me just say, like even in Montclair, perfect example, that's before you go to the Y and get early care and aftercare, which is another $10,000, right? So those costs are just unaffordable for so many families. If you can even get it, because there's a wait list for so many folks.
There are wait lists, there are, yes.
There's long lists and you're on it and you hope you can get through. You better reply right away because somebody else is going to take that spot. We've got to get more folks into it, right? So you got to get rid of the red tape to allow folks to get in and doing the work, and that's going to create more opportunity. But you have to change how you compensate these entities because right now it's based on attendance, and every day I keep my little one home, they don't get paid, that's unacceptable, right? Because no business, no entity can operate that way. We've got to move to enrollment, based on enrollment. So we can do changes there. That's an important piece of it as well. We've got to continue to invest in the environment. And I say that in the context of energy as well, because we've all gotten those letters from our energy providers saying your bill's going up 20% now,
right.
and it's going up more again later. And in conversations, the whole grid in our area, right, does not have the power that it needs. And it's because at the federal level, so many of these projects that were going to come online providing more energy to our grid are being canceled, right? And with that, they're all raising their rates. So it's an important investment in the environment, right? Because we want more energy, we want green energy. But it's also an investment in our savings because we want more energy writ large so we can get our costs down. So it's investing in ways where they're pulling back at the federal level. We're saying we're going to make sure we continue to invest. We maybe have to be nimble. Maybe it's more solar than wind right now with some of the barriers that have been put up. Maybe it's investment in battery technology so we can store and utilize later. But it's making sure we're not running away from that because there's a cost to doing nothing. Not only a cost on our bills, but I can tell you as mayor, seeing those floods happening every other year instead of every 100 years, pumping out basements with our fire departments, watching folks try to get back on their feet, but then not be able to afford the insurance costs because they're jacking up rates if they can even get it. All of these things are tied together. So it's about making sure things are affordable. But I'll also just say this though, because I'm not blind to this, right? All of this is in the context of what's happening at the national level. Right, all of it is, and I'll say, when I look at what he's doing, and I think he's being mean, as
Talking
well.
about the president.
Not just, the president of the States, being mean. You're the most powerful person in the world. I look at it from the lens of just when I talk about being governor and making sure I'm standing up and protecting every single resident. It's personal. I think back to when we did come to this country, and I think back to my brother and I. And again, we knew what we had to do, and we knew we had to work, but not for one moment did we ever have to pause and think the President of the United States was going to send armed agents into our classrooms, pull us out of our seats, and say we're never going to see our parents again. Like there's a level of just meanness that's out there right now. It's an intention to make people fearful and to be scared and maybe not come to school and don't take advantage of services. But it's not who we are as a country. It's not who we are forgetting our humanity. And as governor, I'm going to stand up for every single resident.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, about your story coming over here, because there are so many people who have come over here. They come over here legally, and they are upset about people who are not here on. They didn't do it the right way. They're here illegally. They're here. They may be committing crimes. Can you talk about how you draw that line between respecting people like your family who came over here the right way and others who are not following the rules? How do you rectify that for people who are saying we want immigrants to come the right way, but we also need to take care of people who are already here? Schools are being strained, services are being strained. How do you bridge that gap?
You know what? But I think the way you framed it is perfect, right? Because it does start with the answer is you respect everybody, but you do have that conversation to say, hey, what does that look like, right? What are we going to talk about with making sure we've got a secure border? What are we going to make sure we have a broader plan for a pathway to citizenship? And all the conversations that should be occurring, right? That's a fair conversation. I understand it. I understand that process that took years and years and years and years to become a citizen.
Right. And that,
personally, right?
Okay.
I remember how stressful it was for my parents. My brother and I were kind of like, what? Like, you better be ready.
Right.
So I remember it vividly, But so I get it, right? And those conversations are valid, right? We all want to have those. But I think along the way, it is. Let me just say, when I see it personally, right? When I go into a community and I see that there's kids who just aren't showing up for school anymore, right? There are parents who are worried that I just can't let my kid out of my sight because look, I'm saying what I'm saying, hoping to be the next governor. But as a parent, I can tell you that I wouldn't care what anyone's telling me. Like right now, I wouldn't let my kid out of my sight, right? If that was the case. So there's a way we go about it without dehumanizing, right? Let's have those conversations. Let's figure out how we, and there was a plan for that. Remember, a bipartisan plan at the federal level to do something. And this president said, don't do it. I'd rather it be political. That's just not who we should be. You're
saying there's a broader message out there, and it's painting everyone with the same stroke, and people who are coming over the right way and wrong way, they're being painted with that same stroke.
Let me be explicit about this. When they have the raids that are happening right now, we saw it even in this state, and they barge into a room and say, "Show me your papers." Somebody tell me exactly what that means, right? Or when they're deciding, I don't know who's legally, who's illegally here. I don't walk around with some kind of papers that say I'm, legally here or illegally here. I don't know if I look American enough. I don't know if I was here long enough. Like when they come into rooms, and we saw it now, where they round up veterans who served in this country, right? Where they round up others who are, legal immigrants. And how do you make that distinction? Like, it should scare all of us, because when they come for all of us, right? So it's not somebody else, it's us. So let's talk about doing this in a way that honors the conversation that has to happen, honors the processes that we want to make sure are in place. That's fair. Let's talk about having those on-ramps and pathways and make sure those are clear to folks, right? Because those are being eliminated as well. But at the same time, we can't miss the fact that we've seen in history when folks start just coming in and saying, show me your papers, the unintended, and I'll put that in air quotes, I'm not sure how unintended, but the unintended consequences, they're happening right now. It's happened in New Jersey to folks who are citizens of this country who have been rounded up and detained. That should be unacceptable to all of us.
And I can understand what you're saying. I mean, even if you're pulled over for what have you, a police officer, it makes you nervous. You get scared.
Sure
Like, whoa,
right.
what'd I
Yes.
do?
Right.
Where's my stuff? I
Right,
don't
we
know
all
where my
get nervous,
stuff
right?
is.
Yeah, you can't find it. You always can't find the one thing, right?
Let's
be fair. You can't find the one
so
paper.
That's what you're trying to say, that there is a difference, there's a right way and a wrong way to go about it.
Yeah, I'd say, look, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what we're really going to do with comprehensive immigration reform, including a pathway to citizenship, what we want to do on the border. Fair conversation. Let's talk about all of that. Let's talk about the process we're going to lay out. How does someone apply for asylum? How does somebody apply for the visas that are being cut back on? All the things. Let's lay it out there. Folks know it clearly. Let's have those conversations. Let's engage in what we need to make sure everybody feels we debate, discuss, which is what's supposed to happen in government, in a democracy. Let's come up with our laws and pass them and enforce them and move forward. But along the way, it doesn't have to be these scare tactics. It doesn't have to be these tactics that also put all of us at risk. And I think that's what I think we have to talk about as well.
You're talking about affordability, we're talking about immigration, something near and dear to your heart, education.
Yeah.
So much of our taxes, what we pay for at the local level, what we pay for in our taxes at the local level, fund schools. This is something this is your life, your profession, education. What's happening at the national level? The president has said he's going to get rid of the Department of Education. There's too much red tape, and our children are not performing. And the data is showing a lot of our children are failing. I'm pretty sure I know where you're going to stand on this, but where do you stand on this issue? How do you get rid of the certain amount of red tape and things that are getting in the way of educating our children? Because you've been there, you've been boots on the ground as a teacher, and still ensure that there are safety nets in place to ensure that the most vulnerable students, whether special ed or the gifted, that their needs are being met.
Yeah, I think first thing you do, by the way, in any community you want to go, is go listen to the educators. Listen to the educators. Right? They will tell you right away what's working, what's not, what actually is getting to them and how they can use it, or what's not getting to them. Oftentimes, and maybe it's and I see it even running for this position, right? Oftentimes there's that little pat on the head. Thank you so much for what you do as an educator, but go back to your classroom. We don't need to hear your opinion on this. And that happens at the Board of Ed level. It happens at state level. It happens even when you're running for governor, right? But in that, we have to look at it and say, hey, these folks know what's happening, and they know what's working, and they know what they need. So let's listen to them, and let's find out why it is that the thing that's happening at the board level, the program, the dollars, aren't getting to them and the students to help, right? That's the first thing I'd say. Second thing is, the answer is not to just allow someone to take advantage of that genuine frustration to eliminate something that provides supports to so many families and kids. So I'm talking about the elimination of the Department of Education. $1.2 billion, that's how much we get in New Jersey for IDEA, Title I, right, students with special needs. That is a huge amount of money. And listen, I get it. If we all believe him, he's just going to eliminate the department and give each state all the money. Fine. We know how to do that, and we know how to figure that out. And as governor, no problem. We can get the dollars where they need to go. But I also know that Elon Musk is sitting there, right, with those strings attached to the president and making those decisions. And they're looking for money, not to just give to us, our states, to give tax breaks to Elon Musk and billionaires and massive corporations. So I don't think those dollars are just going to come to us, and that should scare every single parent, all of us, but certainly parents of students with special needs, because those dollars are huge in terms of the investment we make in our children's future. So eliminating a whole department in that way is very dangerous, right? And there's also a layer to it of, look, the role of the federal government is to kind of see what's happening in each of the states, take best practices, share those out, make sure that you get supported. So there's a lot more that happens there. You've got a lot of people with expertise. So it provides value, even though we are all frustrated by red tape. We are all frustrated by, we call it paperwork and, wasting our time and certainly making things more complex to navigate. So we've got to make sure we're streamlining, always checking in, having conversations. But you do that most effectively by going to the granular level. Talk to the folks who are engaging. Talk to the parents. Talk to the educators. Listen to them, right? They know what the challenges are. They know what the opportunities for increased efficiencies are, making processes easier. But the answer is never just like broad sell. Just get rid of everything. Don't give the dollars, and use that as an
So
opportunity.
you're not buying what the president is saying
I
that
am
it is
not.
about. That's what he's saying. That's
No.
what he's trying to say.
I don't buy it.
Let the states do what they want. Let the
No.
teachers do what they want. You're not buying it.
No, I'm not at all. Zero. I think when we're talking about Medicaid, right, and the dollars that they want to pull out of that, when we're talking about the Department of Education and the dollars they're pulling out of that, when they're cutting every single program that so many folks are using in this country or it's USAID, another country, everything is being shut down. Everybody's being fired. All those dollars are being taken, not to all of a sudden give us all way more money in the States so we can do what we want with it. It is going to be to give tax breaks to Elon Musk, other billionaires, and super rich corporations.
I want to talk about another topic before we run out of time, and it's something that affects anybody who has to get to work, get to school, get anywhere, and that is New Jersey Transit, the state of our roadways, roads, tunnels, bridges. And when we had the Democratic primary debate, everybody agreed.
Yeah.
Everybody gave New Jersey Transit some
Yes.
Fs.
Yes.
What
Yes. I
grade
think
did
that
you
was the
give
grade.
it?
I think so. I think it was an F from everybody. Yes.
Yeah. So what solutions do you have to
Yeah.
help the New Jersey Transit? That again, anybody who has to get anywhere, you're affected by this.
Yeah, no question. What do folks want? They want something that's safe. They want something that's reliable, right? They want something that's clean. They want something that's affordable, right? That's what you want. But right now we've got a system that doesn't work because if you're late every time you get on to get to work, that's not working for you, right? If you're can't rely on it, it's not working for you. I would separate a couple things though, right? When we look at our bus system and others, we've got a lot more control in that one. And certainly I think as we make advancements towards the green economy and certainly green infrastructure, as we invest in electrification of our infrastructure in state, there's an opportunity to also improve our fleet and get newer buses and cleaner buses and all the things that we want to make improvements on there. So certainly I think a little bit more manageable and we have much more control there and certainly I'd invest. When you talk about trains, right? A little bit different because now we're reliant on the federal government, right? We're looking at Amtrak, we're looking at regional approaches, conversations with New York and other states. So it becomes much more complex and a different set of dollars, and that makes it harder. As governor, what I would do is obviously continue to advocate with our federal elected officials for more infrastructure dollars. They all talk about it. This president again says maybe he's going to do something about infrastructure. We'll see. But investing those infrastructure dollars there would be huge. But even if we aren't seeing that, it's conversations with New York to say, hey, you keep talking about congestion pricing, and certainly there's components, I understand why, but we need to have the conversations here of how are you helping us with some of those dollars to help improve NJ Transit, because the best way to stop congestion is to provide clean, safe, reliable, affordable mass transportation into the city. Folks don't have to rely on driving in, right? And I'm talking about that nurse trying to get to the hospital, the teacher maybe getting to school, the firefighter getting to the firehouse. So there's folks who need to do that and would rather not be driving and paying these fees. I get it. There's plenty of Wall Street bankers who probably aren't even realize they're paying the fee, but for hardworking regular folks, they do realize it, right? And it is a hit, and they would love to take New Jersey Transit if it was those things I mentioned. So it's also having those conversations regionally to say, how do we invest the dollars there, even if we aren't getting the dollars we need from the federal government? It's also having a clear plan, saying to folks, hey, here's our strategic goal, and here is the timeline we want to hit it. So we can all look at that and say, have we accomplished this piece of it, the next piece, and while we're doing it, here are our contingency plans. So if this train all of a sudden isn't functioning, here is the very clear way it's going to be communicated to you, and here are your alternatives that we're going to have in place so those are happening while we continue to make the improvements.
Communication, that is a big deal. As we close out this segment, final thoughts that you would like to tell people watching that separates you from the other candidates, or why they should vote for you at primary, and if you win the primary in the general election.
Yeah, well, definitely I encourage folks to check us out at SeanSpiller.com, right? Got to do the classic mention that, SeanSpiller.com, the website. But listen, this is about what we're talking about. It's every bit about affordability and the things that I mentioned before. It's every bit about having somebody who can stand up to this president. I've done it before, stood up to Chris Christie in this state when we were his #1 target to get things done for folks, but also never to compromise on our values. It's about fighting for every single resident. And I think not only that message matters, the messenger matters. And I say it as somebody who's lived every one of these things. I say it as somebody who struggled to be able to afford that first home. It's personal for me. I say it as somebody with a 7-year-old and 4-year-old and understands those early costs. It's personal for me. I understand it as somebody who right now as mayor saw those environmental impacts year over year over year and the devastation. It's personal to me. As somebody who's going to fight to protect every single resident in this state, as an immigrant coming here myself, it's personal to me. It's every one of the things that I think are important, but they're important to all of us, including me, and that's why I'm going to fight for every single one of us.
Sean Spiller, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's
I
been a
really
pleasure.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely.